In part 2 of this John Madden Playbook scheme, we're going to take a look at the formation far right flipped. Now the reason I like this formation flipped is mainly because of yet another rollout play. But if you're using a left-handed quarterback like Michael Vick, you don't need to run this formation flip. But with a right-handed quarterback, rolling to the right is a much better option. Now rolling out, whether it be from a play-action pass or the money two-point conversion play that I showed at the beginning of the year, or even just in general, is very effective this year. Defenders are just going to act silly, allowing you to manipulate coverage and get easy completions. Auto rollouts like this one and the one from Split Pro are even better. In the Split Pro rollout, the C route can't be stopped by any stock defense. In this one from the far right formation, it's not quite as dominant as the other one, but it's still very good. And the reason for that is the corner route run by the B receiver. Two corner routes just run a little bit differently and both very effective. Generally, I like to roll out manually as the auto rollout guides me so that if something breaks down, I can continue moving my feet and potentially take off with my quarterback, or avoid a blitz and throw to a different receiver. But it's not a requirement, just something that I like to do. All you need to do is snap the ball, and the CPU is going to do the rolling out for you as you read the B receiver. If the receiver's open, just throw a bullet pass, and that is it. If he's not open, then you still won't need to touch the analog stick, as your quarterback is going to stop rolling out and set his feet, allowing you to stand there and look for an open target. And finally, just to trick my opponent sometimes, I like to break the huddle using the speed of the line technique without the play being flipped and quick snap him. But because I'm using a right-handed quarterback, I won't manually roll out to the left. I'm just going to let the CPU do that for me so that my feet are automatically set once the rollout is done. With a right-handed quarterback, trying to throw while rolling to the left is not a good idea. As good as the corner route is at getting open on this play, it's really the running back on the stock wheel route that makes this play such a headache for our opponents. It's just much quicker upfield than a regular hot routed wheel route. Plus, just like you saw there, it looked like the defender was going to be able to make a play on the ball, and like I said, with these rollout plays, they just don't react. It's honestly very rare, especially after mixing in all these other plays, that the halfback is not open on this play. And even if it does look like he's covered, like you saw, defenders act silly on the rollouts, especially when it comes to flat passes. You're going to see that a couple times throughout the gameplay footage. Now, another thing is, I only show one example, but if everything breaks down, instead of taking off with your quarterback, just take a look at the development downfield. The running back might be an option for a deep pass. Now, if not, and a quarterback run isn't an option, just throw the ball out of bounds and live for another down. It's not that big of a deal, especially in an offense like this. This is a ball control offense. We're going to dink and dunk for the most part while moving the chains effectively. I'd say that it's easier to go mistake-free in an offense like this one than it is in most offenses in the game. Just don't force things, and you should be good. We definitely don't want to be helping our opponent by throwing interceptions. I'd say if you're the type of person that loves to milk clock, play a very slow-paced game, this is definitely the kind of offense that you're going to love to run. And here I'm using the hurry to the line technique, and I quick snap my opponent, and this is just going to be an easy completion all day long. As far as the tight end on the post route, it's a pretty decent option. Much better against zone though. Has a little bit of trouble getting open versus man coverage. And this is my third read on the play. As you can see by the play art, sometimes I'm going to block the halfback on the wheel on the right and put the opposite halfback on a wheel. This is very rare, but with rollout protection to the right, sometimes what I like to do is have the other halfback on a wheel to kind of sneak in behind defenders for a big play as I'm rolling to the right and the defense won't really see it coming. The only steady adjustment that we're going to make on this play is by putting X on a drag. It's really the only option that I like for this receiver. The stock out route really isn't that great of an option due to the fact that we're rolling away from it. All four routes to the same side of the field, even with a user defender, is going to be really tough to stop. As you can see right here, we're just rolling out. We have all four receivers in our line of sight. And actually, here's an example of what we can do with the wheel route on the opposite side of the field. We're throwing in a little bit of coverage here, but if they're blitzing, this could definitely be 6 points for us. Man, it is rollout city in this bitch, but just look at how the receivers go after the ball. One-handed catches and sliding to the ground to make catches, and many times the ball just being thrown where only our receiver can catch it. PA waggle, which is a formation audible that we can get to at any time, is just another piece of the puzzle in this ball control offense. Against man coverage, I'm just going to wait until he starts to make his cut at the end of the comeback route, and throw a bullet pass. Against zone, deep blues, they don't stand a chance. And because of our ability to kill our opponent with flat routes, you're going to see a lot of cover 2 as the game wears on. The receiver, once he cuts down, is going to be wide open between the flat and the deep safety. Now we all know what I think about standard drag routes, but this deep drag is also really nice and is actually a lot easier to access as we're rolling out than a tight end post route. It's also going to be deeper than your standard drag, which is of course going to mean more yards. These particular routes from shotgun snogs and plays like Falcon Cross are really deadly. I use these type of routes a lot, and they're also a pretty good option in under-centered play action and rollouts as well. Now keep in mind though that just because we're doing a ton of rolling out to the right does not mean that we're going to be easy to stop at all. The options we have in the run game, as well as a few other plays that I've shown you guys, is going to be just enough to keep our opponent guessing. Not to mention that even when we do roll out, we have different route combinations that will require different defensive adjustments to stop. This time we're going to put X on a slant route. I actually like how it trails the A receiver, plus it's a change of pace from the drag. Let's take a look at it one more time. Just take a look at how it trails the tight end running across the field, the A receiver. Even though I should have thrown him in to make a bad read, you get the idea. Now there's 2 things that we can do with RB. Like I mentioned earlier, I love the backside wheel for the big play potential, so sometimes I'm going to put him on that route if we're on the right hash. If we happen to be on the left hash, then I like putting the RB on an option route, and we can hit him here just like this. So now that we've shown you 7 or 8 passing plays from the 2 main formations, near close twins and far right flipped, let's focus on the run game. Like I mentioned, we got halfback sweep from split pro and power row from far right twins. Those are 2 very good run plays, but there's actually one that I left out, and it just so happens to be the best run in the playbook. Unfortunately, I could have swore that somebody already covered this. I can't remember. So I didn't do any gameplay footage for it, but then I went to search it, and it just so happens that it doesn't even exist. I cannot find it. So that play I'm talking about is called toss, and it's from the near right formation. You're definitely going to want to add that to your scheme. The play you're looking at now is one of 3 run plays that I like most from far right flipped. This one is halfback sweep. Now, we never need to come out in this play though because it is a formation audible, which is a nice addition for us. Now, far right flipped, easily our most balanced formation. We've got multiple effective pass plays, multiple effective run plays, but I will say as a whole, one of my favorite things about running a legendary playbook, despite the fact that in some formations we might never pass or some formations we might never run, is that the look of the formations we're using are completely foreign to our opponent. You know, if I run the Kansas City playbook or the Philly playbook against someone, they're used to seeing those formations. They're familiar, and they know what to expect for the most part, and it's easier for them to get a read on what we're about to do. But because it's more difficult to recognize a formation from this playbook, especially with the halfback and the fullback line up, that's just going to be a nice advantage for us. The halfback counter is actually a pretty solid run play. Usually it's the counter that has the pulling guard, but it's not actually that way in this formation. It's the halfback sweep, the play that I just showed you, that has the pulling guard, which of course makes that either great off tackle or we can just take it outside in the sweep. Here in the halfback counter, it's the fullback that pulls. So what I generally do is to start a game, I'm going to switch back and forth for my first 4 to 6 runs, and then whichever run has the most success against what my opponent likes to do, that's the run that I'm going to go with most of the time. Unless, of course, both are doing well, then I'm just going to continue to mix it up. Now, there is still one more run play to go over quickly, but I just want to take this time to thank you guys for watching my videos. I really appreciate it, and if you haven't already, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. You know, PS4 comes out in just a couple days, and Xbox One a week later. I cannot wait. That's where you're going to find me. You know, I have to tell you guys, this is most likely my last current gen tip. Everything I'm going to do from now on is going to be next gen, but before you decide to hit that unsubscribe button, we definitely don't want that. I plan on getting you guys current gen tips on this channel from another source until we've all made the switch to next gen. You know, I just can't live in the past. You know, I gotta move forward, but I'm going to try my best to take care of you guys. I promise I will at least try. And finally, from this scheme, we're looking at the halfback dive from this formation, which is also pretty decent. I usually just like to follow my fullback, but if you have top-notch run vision, like a lot of people do, you can definitely take advantage of other holes like you see me do right here. for solid yards pretty much every time. It just depends on how good you are at seeing that hole. It's next gen time, boys. I can't wait. I'll see you there.